Am I the asshole for mentally checking out at a weekend camping trip my boyfriend invited me to? I, 26, was excitedly invited by my boyfriend, 26, to his favorite annual camping weekend shindig with all of his best friends. I was super excited to get out into nature, canoe around the lake, hike some trails, and play my uke around the campfire and meet some new fun peeps. For a little background info, I have had to quit drinking completely and have been sober a year. My boyfriend knows this, and has even come to a couple meetings with me. He drinks on weekends and such pretty heavily sometimes, but I just don't get involved. I'm past my party phase. I get that he needs to relax. Anyway, we show up to this gorgeous private camp area, everything I was envisioning. And then people starting showing up. With booze. Like, a lot of it. They immediately begin drinking and getting hammered. The women there avoided me like the plague, even though I'd never met them before. I later asked my boyfriend what that was about, and he proceeded to give me a shockingly long list of how many of them he'd already hooked up with. I have a past too, but they're all out of the picture. It felt super uncomfortable for me to be surrounded by his past. Honestly, the second people started slurring words and acting stupid, I had some pretty rough PTSD-type flashbacks from my own party days, so I checked out. I carpooled up there, 5 hours from where I live, so I was stuck. I made the best of it the whole weekend. I walked the trails by myself. I floated around on the lake while everyone else played beer pong. I was friendly and chatted with folks anytime we had a sober hour, usually just the mornings. One particular night, I slipped away to my BF's truck, just to get away from the noise and constant insistence from others to slap the bag, wine bag, and chug. And there was a car next to me, rocking back and forth, with a random pair hooking up. I guess it sounds funny now, but in that moment, I just felt violated. When we finally drove home, my boyfriend expressed his disappointment in me, and said I was very rude to wander off and leave these people several times. On the one hand, I guess I'd usually agree I was ready to socialize and make friends. On the other, I was not at all warned or prepared for the type of intense event this really was. I feel like my boyfriend of almost a year should have let me know about the booze, maybe about the hookups, although I wouldn't have known if they hadn't cold-shouldered me, and I probably would have just opted out of attending. I think I did the best I could to both protect my peace and socialize where I could, given the situation. I don't feel like I owe this crowd anything. Meant to say, there were probably 40+ people, though he claims they're all his best friends. But I now feel super guilty, and I really don't know what to do or who's right here. I truly feel like a cold, his words, which I usually never am, sad face. Not the asshole. I would start thinking about your relationship on what you want here. This person doesn't seem like they mesh with your wants. Not the asshole. So your boyfriend brings his sober girlfriend to a drunk fest full of girls he has slept with, and he is disappointed in you. Your boyfriend took you, a recovering alcoholic, to a 5-day drink and fuck fest in the forest with several of his exes? Then called you a cold bitch when you didn't like the experience? He needs to be your ex. Not the asshole. This guy honestly doesn't seem good for you, or like he cares about you that much. Taking you to an event like that without even warning you of what takes place, especially given that you're sober, is just wild. And he called you a bitch? You need to leave immediately. Being surrounded by his ex-partners, or flings, without warning would have also immediately turned me off of him. This man doesn't know you. He didn't anticipate the wants and needs of his sober girlfriend. This man doesn't care about you. He didn't prepare you for all his previous sexual partners being there. He didn't immediately empathize with your feelings when he saw all his drunk friends. Don't kid yourself you're a convenience until he meets a woman he actually loves. Respect and love yourself enough to recognize the reality, and improve your life from moving on without him. Not the asshole. It makes sense your response was to check out. You're new to sobriety, and while they aren't the assholes for drinking with you there, it should have been a conversation with your partner. Personally, when I went sober from substances, it was a solid 5 or 6 years before I could confidently go out where there was a potential opportunity and know I wouldn't be tempted. At 1 year, I'm proud you kept sober in that situation. Your boyfriend should be more supportive. If he understood what you were going through, a good man would have offered to remove you from that. Am I the asshole for doing childproofing for my in-laws' visit? I am at 26, and my husband is 29, We have been married for 5 years and we to Berlin right after marriage since we both found really well-paying jobs. Meanwhile, both of our families, parents, siblings etc., still live back in Greece and we usually visit back occasionally. Now me and my husband don't have any children and we don't plan to have any. We enjoy buying expensive things and experiencing we never got to as children, such as nice furniture in our home, going to exotic restaurants with friends, travel, hobbies, and generally just our lives with each other exactly the way it is. But that's just how my husband thinks. His family is very traditional and every married couple has at least one kid. This time my husband invited my brother-in-law and sister-in-law to visit us with their 3-year-old son for 2 weeks. This would be the first time they've traveled with their son and the first time we would be hosting our nephew at our home. Now our nephew is known to be going through the terrible twos and has been throwing tantrums and breaking things lately, so I did some childproofing in our home a day before my in-laws were due to arrive. I removed all the glass and ceramic decor. I swapped out our linen tablecloth for a plastic one. I locked up our intoxication devices. I also covered our sofas with a plushy fabric cover. Our sofa's fabric is white cashmere, because nephew likes to snack while watching TV and we can always take it outside and dust of food crumbs. I also changed my maid's schedule to come in 5 days a week instead of 3 so she can help prep breakfast and make sure the house is tidy. However, when my husband saw all of my changes he kind of got upset. He told me he felt that I was preparing our house as if we were hosting messy and uncivilized people. And asked me why I don't make these changes when our friends in Berlin who have kids come over for dinner. He also said that he's never seen our friends make these sort of changes in their own home for their kids. I don't understand this comparison at all. Coming over for dinner for 3 hours and staying at a place for a couple of weeks is very different. And we've visited our in-laws enough to see how chaotic their home can get to the point where my brother-in-law and sister-in-law keep mostly plastic items in their homes for convenience. Am I the asshole? Edit. We hadn't spoke since we had our fight last night and my in-laws are supposed to be landing in the morning. My husband brought food from a restaurant I liked and told me he wanted to apologize. He told me he overreacted because he wasn't admitting to himself how different his brother is as a person ever since he became a dad and that his life is going in a very different direction with more financial hardships too, and that makes him angry and helpless. He told me he misdirected his frustration at me and thought what I did was really nice, especially since he is more finicky about than I am. I tried my best to make him feel not guilty and responsible for the lives and decisions of other grown-ups. But I'm so relieved he came around on his own. Edit 2. So guys, it's officially day 1 of the in-laws visit and my husband has now gone an extra step and put away most of the lamps in our house because they are glass and super dangerous for a toddler to be around. We have about 35 cuz we hate ceiling lights. When we picked up our in-laws from the airport and were driving them back, nephew accidentally poured a bag of chips all over the backseat and floor's mats. Everyone just laughed, but I know my husband was horrified inside and now he's been vacuuming the backseat area for 2 hours now, lol. Oh, and in-laws super appreciated our baby proofing. Not the asshole. Instead of worrying the entire visit that their kid could ruin something expensive, the visiting parents can rest assured that the space has been child-proofed. As long as all the changes don't make the space uncomfortable, e.g. squeaky plastic couch covers or all decor being hidden so the place is bare, I think it makes a lot of sense. You are making the visit less stressful for everyone. Not the asshole. He told me he felt that I was preparing our house as if we were hosting messy and uncivilized people. He's quoting the definition of a toddler here. Not the asshole. A child of 3 is messy and uncivilized, that's normal. It's for the child's safety as well as protecting your property. Husband hasn't been paying attention to your friends who have kids. Not the asshole. Your husband is so invested in family that he's failing to see the reality of having a 3-year-old living with you guys for 2 weeks. Just grow a spine and put your foot down and say that's how it's going to be. Then, when your chaotic nephew arrives, you can wait for him to admit that you were right. You have been thoughtful and forward-thinking. You have taken reasonable steps and you are to be commended. It sounds like your husband's just really out of touch with the needs of a toddler, but I'm sure after the baby has been in his house for a week, he'll come around. Not the asshole. You are not the asshole. You literally are preparing for hosting messy and uncivilized people. Toddlers are messy and uncivilized by definition, and he should not be offended at the implication. He needs to grow up and understand that what you did was very considerate. Most parents would be thrilled that you put so much effort into adjusting your home to make sure that their children were safe and comfortable. What did he even expect you to? Leave the bleach out on the table? Hand the kids a vase to play with? What precisely is he suggesting that you do differently? Because if he has some good ideas, he can put in the effort himself. I think you should show him this comment. Sir, your wife is a saint. Stop complaining that she makes your home so comfortable for your family. Am I the asshole for telling a student I'm not sure if she can have a quince? I work with children, I have for over 10 years ranging from newborn to high school. I had 2 students, aged around 4 or 5, talking to another student about how her sister had a quince. This is how the conversation went. Who is Mexican? My sister had her quince last week and it was so pretty and I can't wait for mine. B. Who is African American? Oh, that sounds so cool, I want to have one too. A. I don't know if you can. I don't know anyone else who have quinces. B. Why not? I wanna have 1-2 turns to me, Miss, can I have a quince too? Me, African American. Not knowing the answer, I am not sure, sweetheart, I can't give a clear answer cause I don't know. The next day B's mom storms up to me yelling, saying how dare I tell her daughter she can't have a quince, and I just said I am not sure, as I'm not sure culturally or anything about them, so I can't say yes or no. The mom then complained to the principal about it, saying I'm crushing her daughter's dreams. Am I the asshole? Edit. I mean a quinceañera, I didn't know quince was a fruit. Not the asshole, but ask your parents. That's your line. Kids that age often hear I don't know as no or as yes. But they know what ask your parents means. This is 100% a parent question. Not the asshole. The parent sounds exhausting. How can you have 10 years of experience dealing with kids without learning to say, that's not up to me, that's up to your parents, or ask your parents, or something similar? Not the asshole, because dang, that parent sounds exhausting, but you could have avoided this. Not the asshole. Also, at first my dumb ass thought this was about the fruit quince and didn't get why a fruit caused drama. Not the asshole. You answered honestly, but she heard something other than your intent. And her mother took it way out into left field. Next time that you are asked a question to which you do not know the answer, answer the way that husbands have been answering since the beginning of time. I don't know. Ask your mother. Not the asshole. I don't know why a lot of people in the comments are doing the same thing the mom did and interpreting I don't know as no you can't, you didn't say she couldn't. Am I the asshole for refusing to go to my husband's church even once? I, 29F, grew up in an incredibly radically over-the-top Catholic household. We went to church twice a week always. When I got scarlet fever as a kid, my grandpa refused to let me get medical treatment for days while he tried to cure me by screaming at me at the top of his lungs to remove the devil from me. I was so terrified of going to hell that if I even forgot to say, thank you, I'd break down crying. When I was 13, my dad, who had full custody, moved us to another country to get away from a religious family. From then on we were allowed to remain Catholic if we wanted, but none of us chose to. We respected religions but never practiced or attended again. My husband's 28M family is very Christian and attends church every Sunday. He goes sometimes, always invites me but never pressured me to go for years. His family is starting to kick back and insist I attend as well, despite knowing why I don't want to. They are becoming a little pushy, saying that I have to at least go once and try it and that I'd have a good time. I still refuse. I'm happy they have their religion, but I'm done with it for myself. My husband thinks I'm being a stubborn and irrational. I think I respect their religion, so why can't my decision also be respected? Am I the asshole? Edit. I would like to make a quick edit to say that I love my in-laws as people and I love seeing them. This also isn't a deal breaker between me and my husband. We do not want kids, so it wouldn't affect them. I just don't appreciate the peer pressure every single week, and it does make me feel like I'm neglecting a duty when they sometimes gang up about it. I appreciate the kind replies. I'm going to set my foot down harder but kindly and tell them that I might host an after-church brunch every other week for them where they are welcome to discuss religion, but I will not be attending church in any fashion. Edit 2. I was corrected on the religion I grew up with. It seems like my family was actually Protestant, most likely, not Catholic. I'm looking more into it now. I attended Catholic school and we stopped all religion things when I was 13. I never thought what we practiced at home was different than at school. Sorry for that misinformation. Not the asshole. Forced religion is not religion, it is a cult. Ask your husband why it is now so important that you go to church with his family. Your husband married you knowing you have religious trauma and that you do not practice any religion. He is pulling a bait and switch here. This kind of harassment from religious people has never one time in history actually made someone want to attend their church. Start shutting down these discussions. You know how I feel about this. You knew about it before we were married. This discussion is closed. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. It's irrational to force your religion upon others. I be careful op. Religion is often forced upon others as a means of control. Why else is it so important to them that you concede on your principles? Also, it'd probably be a good idea for you to have a chat with your husband about why he believes you should participate in religion. Not the asshole. Offer them a deal. One visit to their church with them for every visit to a church of your choice they agree to make, same duration, and they had to start. Your husband and his parents are being very disrespectful to you. You made your decision for more than very good reasons of why you don't want to ever go. And now they're harassing you about it, your husband being implicit with their harassment to you. This is not okay. Honestly, one more conversation saying I will never go to any church. If you don't stop asking, I will no longer involve myself in any events with any of you since you can't find it in you, Christian souls, to stop harassing me or respecting my decision. Then quote Romans chapter 8 verse 28. All things, even our own choices, are used by God to accomplish his purposes in and through us. Drop mic and walk away. Which is your semi-nice way to tell them to F off? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. My husband thinks I'm being a stubborn and irrational. Irrational? Let me get this straight. The guy who wants you to go to a church and worship a cosmic Jewish zombie, who is his own father, born of a virgin, sent by himself to save us from the consequences he himself will impose on us, of a woman made from a rib who ate a fruit at the behest of a talking snake, is calling you irrational. You shouldn't have to live with this. I get you love your husband, but this divide is probably too much to ever overcome. The pressure will be worse, the religious insanity will only grow.